Normally everything is hauled off when a tree falls. Typically it'll get cut up, firewood, small enough for people to move around, loaded into trucks with skid steers, trucked to a place where it gets ground up, trucked even further, almost to Mexico here from sort of the Orange County, LA region, trucked to the Mexican border and burned for electricity. Some of it is good to extract, I think, to meet the human need, but not all of it has to, and so we always try to find ravines and places where the road needs shoring up and engineer all the branches in, like we've done right here all along this road, and then cover it with duff, pine needles and leaves, and hopefully enough dirt too to make it so it's an oxygen poor environment so fire doesn't really have the upper hand, and reduce the fire ladder. So tree falls over, we process it, try to find the highest use, but we also try to leave whatever we can, and that's, in this case, we had this little fire access road that has grown over this plant. These two little trees have taken over, but still it's good foot access for fire personnel, or for good to have open space for deer, and so we've engineered it into here, and one snowfall and one more cycle of leaf shedding, and this will look very natural. We're still going to pull this big branch out, and rake some more dirt over to this, but I wanted it to show. And starting out with engineering the branches in there, and then next size thing, and keep bringing the next smallest thing until the last layer, which is next, is going to be dirt. And then the road was washing out here, now it's not. Also did repair work on everything it fell into. We did that right away, and then did a little more of it once the log was finally extracted. But here's the trunk up ahead here. That Annalia's pool from the other side. Yeah, so we lost about 15 feet to the firewood cutters, and you can see that brown circle, or maybe not with the camera, but I'll go up there. We were all excited about this tree because it was 50 feet to the first branch, and you don't really see that in areas of fire suppression, at least not so often. So what we discovered through one of the cuts up there was that there had been a pruning of at least one branch, because that's the only one we saw, but it was 60, 70 feet up on the tree, so you got to figure somebody climbed it, probably with spikes, maybe not, but there. We're slowly finding out that's not the way to prune living trees. Anyway, I had laid up 5 inches of wood since that pruning event, so you see this ring. When the tree was about that diameter, something happened. Come here, you. And the wood that came after the wound, which looks like it was right about there, even though the brown has, trees form barriers and they resist spread of decay, but it's not always successful. It looks like that barrier was here, and then this wood mostly sound. So as you go further towards the base of this tree, it becomes hollow. And right here is where it's just not, you just can't quite stick your fingernails in it. So talk about divine intervention. If I probably would have stopped cutting, and it would have been a little more punky, but if you look up here, it broke in half. And you can see the white rots and the brown rots, the Armillaria malea and all their buddies, and here how it is punky, the lignan's been digested off the cell walls, and it's no longer really wood. Out here, though, it is. So that's why we're excited about the slab we got, but we're also anxious to find out what's next. Now this happens to be really beautiful. Where the tree just kind of walking right through the flowers.
I just saw a lot of bees jump up.
Yeah.
Just want to be careful about bees at my skirt.
Uh-huh. There's a doggy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tree deva. So see the pipe over there? And everything's all green here. It's the only place. There's moisture from the leach line, and there was, see the roots this way and roots that way, but no roots this way.
And that's the direction it fell.
Fell right there. You see, you can tell, but there's dirt all over it from it throwing the dirt up on itself.
Nothing holding it in that cardinal direction.
Right. And it may have had a little bit of a lean in that direction. I remember looking at this tree and just, big, beautiful tree, and long way to the first branch, and then a twist. We have the tops too. We're going to mill those. We have 2 more logs, that 42-foot log, and we have 2 other smaller logs, and they're the ones with the character that people will love for tables, because they'll just have these big sweeping turns and branches running off of them and things. That log down there is nice and straight and good for lumber. Anyway, that's this tree, ponderosa pine. Haven't counted it. Probably 200 plus. Just figure that. See how old it was at 20 feet high. Do you know this flower? There's 50 years right there. Slow growing back then. The last 50 years since I was born. Tree added an inch times the metric buttload. Well, let's see. Let's do some estimating. There's 100, and then the growth rings get twice the size, so there's probably, it's well over 200. There's about 200. And then never an especially fast-growing tree. Wow, it could have been 400 years old. I would say, I wouldn't have guessed that. Usually we get increments of, quarter inch, especially 100 years ago when, right after the clear cut, and the forest adjusted, and then competition was not so much. We had a lot of big growth rates. And then fire suppression, drought, smog, we had a lot of slow growth. Most of the trees look like this right now. Slow growth, which is great if you're building violins or trying to make super high grade lumber.